At 4:17 a.m. on a dead silent night, the psychotic HOA president, Bethany Crow, kicked down my front door in her designer pajamas, screaming,
"I have master key authority. Your filthy mutts woke the entire neighborhood, and I'm done with you military types acting like you're above the rules, soldier boy."
She waved a fake key like she owned my house. What she completely forgot? My two 90 Lelby German Shepherds, retired military K9s, were on night guard duty. Crash. Both dogs exploded toward her in full protection mode. She shrieked, stumbled backward, and dropped her master key in terror. This entitled Karen had harassed me for months over nothing, while her own landscaping crew blasts leaf blowers at 6 a.m. every Sunday. But here's the best part. I'd been secretly recording everything. That night, she handed me the final proof I needed to dismantle her little HOA empire for good. This revenge went absolutely nuclear. Would you press charges if a Karen broke into your home and insulted your service? Let me back up and tell you how this nightmare started. My name's Ezra Thornton, 52, retired military police turned freelance security consultant. After 23 years keeping terrorists in line overseas, I figured dealing with suburban Karens would be a complete joke. Biggest miscalculation of my entire life. 6 months ago, my wife Carmen, she's a trauma nurse at the VA hospital, and I moved to Willowbrook Estates with our twin daughters, Maya and Sophia, both 16 and absolutely obsessed with our two German Shepherds. Rex and Luna aren't your typical family pets. They're 90-pound retired military K9s I adopted after their combat tours ended. Rex still wakes up screaming from Afghanistan nightmares. Luna lost her left eye to an Iraqi IED blast. They're not pets. They're fellow veterans earning their therapy dog certifications while keeping our property secure. We specifically bought this house for the large fenced yard and paid a premium after the realtor promised us a military-friendly community. What complete bullshit that turned out to be. Enter the neighborhood's self-appointed dictator, Bethany Crow. Picture this, 48 years old, bottle blonde hair sprayed into an indestructible helmet, drives a white BMW with HOA boss vanity plates, like she's running her own small country. She's been HOA board president for 8 consecutive years because she's systematically bullied every potential opponent into submission. By day, she sells overpriced McMansions to unsuspecting suckers. By night, she cosplays as neighborhood Gestapo, patrolling streets with a measuring tape and stopwatch. The woman lives in this gaudy Mediterranean castle, the kind of house that screams new money, absolutely no taste, and treats property values like they're sacred religious scripture that only she can interpret. Our charming introduction happened exactly 1 week after moving in. I was in the backyard working with Rex on anxiety reduction exercises when the sharp click of stiletto heels announced her royal arrival. The overwhelming assault of vanilla bourbon perfume hit me like chemical warfare. Imagine if Bath and Body Works had exploded inside a strip mall during a candle convention. "Are you aware your animals are violating multiple noise ordinances?" she announced without even pretending at basic pleasantries. "It's 7 p.m. on a Tuesday evening. Decent families are trying to eat dinner in peace, not listen to your pets." I glanced around, genuinely confused. Rex was lying peacefully in the grass. Luna was literally asleep under the oak tree. The loudest sound in the entire neighborhood was Johnson's gas-powered hedge trimmer roaring 2 blocks away. "Ma'am, I'm not sure what you're referring to. I've been monitoring your property for 3 days straight," she interrupted, consulting this ridiculous little pink notebook like she was conducting actual surveillance operations. "Excessive barking, unauthorized structures, and frankly, this whole military aesthetic is seriously bringing down our neighborhood's tone." There it was, not even attempting subtlety anymore. "These are certified service animals," I explained calmly, drawing on muscle memory from diffusing genuinely dangerous situations overseas. "I have all the proper documentation if you'd like." "Documentation?" She actually laughed, this nasty tinkling sound like expensive crystal shattering on concrete. "Oh, honey, I've been protecting our community's investment value since before you learned how to march in proper formation. Your little emotional support theater might work in government housing projects, but we maintain actual standards here." The violation notice she thrust into my hand felt like someone had photocopied it on a cocktail napkin. Cheap paper, smudged ink, obviously homemade on her personal printer. $200 for unauthorized pet structures. specifically targeting the professional therapy equipment Rex and Luna needed for their PTSD recovery work. You have 30 days to remove all unauthorized modifications and relocate any oversized animals, she declared, already clicking back toward her spotless BMW. Appeals require a $50 processing fee plus 30-day waiting period. Might I suggest researching local rental properties? They tend to be more flexible about temporary residents. That condescending smile as she drove away, like she'd just explained basic arithmetic to a particularly slow toddler. Here's what this suburban tyrant didn't realize. She'd just declared war on someone who'd spent 2 decades studying enemy psychology, building airtight legal cases, and executing precision takedowns of actual threats. The beautiful part? She was about to hand me all the rope I needed. The next morning, Carmen found me in the kitchen at 5 a.m., surrounded by legal documents and a pot of coffee strong enough to wake the Taliban. The bitter smell of dark roast mixed with her stress-baking banana bread. Whenever my wife starts turning flour into emotional therapy at dawn, I know we're in deep shit. Please tell me you're not planning to go full John Wick over some HOA psycho, she said, grabbing her scrubs for another 12-hour shift, saving actual heroes at the VA. Just doing homework, babe. Sun Tzu said know your enemy, though I'm pretty sure he never dealt with suburban Karens. What kept me awake all night? Bethany's violation notices were complete amateur hour. No case numbers, no official letterhead, formatting that screamed Microsoft Word 2003. This woman was literally cosplaying as authority with a dying printer and delusions of absolute power. Her first real escalation hit exactly 72 hours later like a tactical missile aimed at our family. Carmen burst through our front door, face redder than a fire engine after a 5-alarm blaze. That psychotic bitch filed noise complaints with the city. 3 separate departments. Animal control, noise violations, even tried to get Child Protective Services involved because our dangerous animals are apparently traumatizing neighborhood kids. She slammed official papers onto our kitchen table with enough force to rattle the salt shaker. Reading Bethany's sworn statements made my vision tunnel with pure rage. Continuous aggressive barking from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., multiple families sleep-deprived and afraid, children too scared to play outside. Owners refuse cooperation despite repeated community warnings. Complete fiction worthy of a goddamn Pulitzer Prize in creative writing. But the real gut punch? She'd convinced Mrs. Patterson, the Hendersons, and 3 other families, people who'd literally never spoken to us, to co-sign these manufactured lies. Maya came home that afternoon in tears because kids at school were saying we were the scary military family with attack dogs. That's when this got personal. Nobody fucks with my daughters. While pulling security footage to document our defense, I struck absolute gold. My cameras had recorded Bethany's entire door-to-door propaganda campaign, and the audio was crystal clear. Apparently, lying bitches don't check for surveillance equipment. I'm just trying to protect our babies. Her voice came through the speakers as I watched her manipulate Mrs. Patterson like a master puppeteer. These military types suffer from PTSD, makes them unpredictable, sometimes violent. Those aren't family pets, they're trained killing machines. The husband has that 1,000-yard stare. I've seen the type. My coffee mug cracked in my grip. 23 years defending freedom, and some suburban terrorist was painting me as a neighborhood threat to justify her personal vendetta against anyone who'd actually served their country. But the manipulation was even more sophisticated. She'd been conducting daily surveillance operations, positioning herself strategically at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. with her iPhone, hoping to record any sound she could twist into evidence. The woman had turned neighbor harassment into a full-time military operation, except she was fighting on the wrong fucking side. Time for precision counter-strike warfare. My first move was installing a security system that would make Pentagon brass jealous. 8 4K cameras with military-grade night vision, timestamp audio recording, motion sensors, and cloud backup to 3 different servers across 2 states. Every conversation, every approach, every psychotic episode would be documented with the kind of thoroughness that wins court cases and destroys reputations. During my MP training, we learned that overwhelming documentation beats witness testimony every single time, especially when your witnesses are lying through their Botoxed faces. Next, I launched a full intelligence operation into Bethany's history. Public records revealed her systematic pattern. She'd successfully driven out 3 previous military families using identical tactics. The Martinez family fled after 8 months of harassment. The Johnsons divorced under the stress and sold their house at a loss. Our home's previous owners, a Navy veteran and his wife, lasted 6 months before escaping to a different state. This wasn't random Karen behavior. This was calculated demographic cleansing designed to maintain her perfect white-bread suburban paradise. While researching HOA bylaws and city ordinances, I discovered something absolutely beautiful. Bethany had been operating without legitimate legal authority for years. Real HOA enforcement requires properly voted bylaws, documented meeting minutes, and established appeals processes, none of which existed in Willowbrook Estates. The diesel fumes from my security equipment delivery truck mixed with the sweet smell of impending victory as I realized this woman had been running a complete fraud operation. But our neighborhood Napoleon wasn't finished. Her next escalation was pure psychological warfare. She organized an exclusive community safety meeting at her McMansion, carefully inviting every family except ours to discuss problem residents and investment protection. Yet Carmen's nursing colleague, who lived 2 streets over, texted her the real agenda. Parents were being told we represented an ongoing security threat, and that our military background made us potentially dangerous to community stability. Masterful isolation tactics eliminate community support before we could build defensive alliances. That evening, Carmen found me grinning at my laptop like I'd just discovered buried treasure. "What's got you looking so satisfied, honey?" "Just delivered Princess Bethany a cease and desist letter. Certified mail, legal letterhead, the full scorched earth treatment." Bethany's response to my cease and desist letter was swift, predictable, and absolutely fucking unhinged. 72 hours later, an emergency HOA board meeting notice appeared on every door except ours, scheduled for 2 p.m. Wednesday, when any normal person with a job couldn't attend. The agenda read like a declaration of war: motion to amend community pet guidelines, prohibiting animals over 40 pounds due to ongoing safety concerns. She'd packed the meeting with her personal army of retired busybodies and wine-drunk housewives who had nothing better to do than police their neighbors' breakfast choices. The location? Her own gaudy living room, because apparently legitimate governance happens between someone's Persian rug and their fake Tuscan wine bar. Carmen took a personal day to infiltrate enemy territory, armed with a notebook and the kind of controlled fury that makes trauma nurses absolute legends. She returned home looking like she'd witnessed a crime against humanity. "That psychotic bitch showed up with a PowerPoint presentation," Carmen announced, collapsing into our kitchen chair with the weight of pure exhaustion. "A goddamn 30-slide PowerPoint titled Restoring Community Safety Standards. She had graphs, Ezra, pie charts about neighborhood threat assessments. The presentation included obviously doctored photos claiming to show property damage caused by our dogs, scratches on fence posts that could have been made by anything with claws, including Bethany's own manicured talons, mysterious holes in common area grass that looked suspiciously like sprinkler system repairs, even a blurry photo of what she claimed was Rex exhibiting aggressive posture near the mailboxes, which was actually him taking a shit behind a bush. But here's where our suburban dictator made her beautiful, fatal mistake. While Carmen was documenting violations of meeting procedure, no proper notice, no quorum verification, no recorded minutes, she spotted something gorgeous in Bethany's financial presentation. The numbers were complete bullshit. Community maintenance funds showing expenditures for administrative consulting and emergency landscaping repairs that seemed inflated beyond belief. Vendor names like Willowbrook Enhancement Solutions and Community Safety Specialists, companies that sounded suspiciously like something you'd create on a napkin during Wine Wednesday. Carmen's background includes forensic accounting for medical insurance fraud, so she recognizes financial fuckery from across a crowded room. While Bethany was ranting about irresponsible pet owners destroying property values, Carmen discreetly photographed every financial document with her phone like she was conducting covert intelligence gathering. That evening, we spread the evidence across our dining room table like military strategists planning D-Day. The rich aroma of Carmen's stress-induced espresso filled the house as we analyzed every suspicious line item. What we discovered was absolutely spectacular. Bethany had been embezzling HOA funds for years. Emergency repairs paid to shell companies that existed only in her imagination. Professional consultation fees for services never performed. Community beautification projects with zero visible improvements and receipts that looked like they'd been generated in Microsoft Paint. The woman had been running her personal bank account disguised as community management. During my MP training, we learned that financial crimes always leave paper trails, and Bethany had been painting a masterpiece of fraud for anyone smart enough to look. My counterattack was precision-engineered devastation. I filed a formal complaint with the state HOA Oversight Board, complete with financial documentation and a timeline of systematic harassment. The complaint process required Bethany to produce official meeting minutes, board certification documents, and audited financial records for the past 3 years. Paperwork I was betting she couldn't manufacture fast enough. Meanwhile, I mobilized other victims of her reign of terror. Previous homeowners had left forwarding addresses, and a few strategic phone calls revealed they'd be thrilled to join a class action complaint. Military families don't abandon fellow veterans when some civilian asshole declares war on all of us. I also started documenting Bethany's own violation patterns with my upgraded surveillance system. Her pristine BMW parked illegally in fire lanes during weekend open houses. Her landscaping crew operating on Sundays, violating the quiet hours she'd weaponized against us. Her own yappy Pomeranian running loose in common areas without a leash, breaking the exact pet regulations she was trying to use for our destruction. Watching this hypocrite violate her own rules daily was like Christmas morning every single day. But Princess Bethany wasn't finished escalating. Her next move crossed every conceivable line of human decency. She filed for a restraining order against me, claiming I'd made threatening gestures and that my military background presented ongoing danger to community stability. The court filing detailed completely fabricated incidents: me conducting surveillance of her property, my dogs displaying aggressive behavior toward children, and my hostile military demeanor during our interactions. When the sheriff served papers at our front door, Carmen called me at work, voice tight with worry. "She's trying to get you legally banned from our own neighborhood, Ezra." I was actually laughing as I read the ridiculous allegations. "Honey, she just gave me the most beautiful present imaginable. How is this a gift?" Because now she has to prove every lie under oath in front of a real judge with actual evidence. And I had 6 cameras worth of footage documenting every second of our interactions. Game, set, match. The restraining order hearing was scheduled for Wednesday at 2 p.m., and Bethany had absolutely no clue she was walking into the most spectacular legal massacre of her pathetic existence. But first, this suburban terrorist decided to escalate her psychological warfare to levels that would make actual war criminals impressed. Monday morning, 6:47 a.m. My phone exploded with an unknown number while Carmen was already at the hospital saving actual heroes, and I was getting our daughters ready for school. Some panicked woman claiming to be a concerned neighbor breathlessly reported that my trained attack dogs had lunged aggressively at innocent children waiting for the school bus. The performance was Oscar-worthy. Trembling voice, specific details about predatory behavior, even claims that parents were too terrified to let their kids walk to school safely. By 7:15 a.m., Animal Control was pounding on my door with an emergency inspection warrant. Officer Martinez, a decent guy who actually understood his job, spent 30 minutes watching Rex and Luna demonstrate obedience training that would make Marine drill instructors weep with pride. Both dogs sat, stayed, healed, and performed their therapy protocols while neighborhood kids played loudly just yards away. "Sir, these are some of the most professionally trained animals I've encountered," Martinez admitted, scratching Luna behind her battle-scarred ear. "Whoever reported this was either completely delusional or deliberately lying. Any chance you can tell me who filed the complaint?" "Officially? No. Unofficially? The caller used very specific military terminology and mentioned your combat background multiple times. Real interesting vocabulary for a random concerned soccer mom." Bethany's manipulative fingerprints were smeared all over this manufactured crisis like cheap lipstick on a wine glass. But her true masterpiece of evil was still coming. Tuesday afternoon, Maya burst through our front door sobbing with the kind of heartbroken fury that makes fathers contemplate homicide. Her face was flushed with humiliation as she collapsed into Carmen's arms. "Dad, they're saying horrible things about our family at school. Kids are asking if you're going to have an episode and hurt people. Someone started a rumor that we have guard dogs because you're dangerous and unstable." The taste of pure rage filled my mouth like battery acid. My 16-year-old daughter was being psychologically tortured at school because some suburban psychopath was conducting a propaganda campaign against our family's military service. Maya described former friends suddenly afraid to visit, teachers giving her concerned looks, parents whispering about the unstable veteran family during school pickup. This transcended neighborhood harassment. This was systematic character assassination designed to destroy my children's social lives and mental health. When Carmen came home that evening, she found me in full military intelligence mode. Security footage displayed across 3 laptops, legal documents organized with tactical precision, evidence charts covering our dining room wall like a federal investigation. The sharp smell of black coffee mixed with her lavender hospital scrubs as she surveyed my war room. Please tell me you're not planning anything that'll land you in federal prison before tomorrow's hearing. Just connecting beautiful dots, babe. The picture is absolutely fucking gorgeous. Here's where I discovered the smoking gun that would obliterate Bethany's entire operation. While reviewing security footage from the past month, I noticed something extraordinary. Bethany's surveillance of our property followed a precise schedule, 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. daily, positioning herself strategically with recording equipment. But my cameras caught something she didn't expect: her phone conversations during these sessions. Audio analysis revealed she was reporting our activities to someone in real time, not just watching, actively coordinating with outside parties. Phone records I'd subpoenaed through my lawyer showed regular calls to the same 3 numbers: a property management company, a real estate investment firm, and a private security contractor. The beautiful truth hit me like a tactical nuke. Bethany wasn't just a racist HOA dictator. She was being paid to force military families out of the neighborhood. This was organized, systematic, financial gentrification disguised as community management. Someone was paying her to manufacture crises that would drive down property values, force sales, and allow coordinated buyouts at below-market prices. My investigation into previous military families revealed identical patterns: manufactured violations, escalating harassment, forced sales within 6 to 8 months, immediate resales to the same investment group at significant markup. During my MP career, I'd seen this exact operation in overseas housing markets: create instability, force evacuations, profit from distressed sales. Bethany had imported military zone real estate manipulation into suburban America. Wednesday morning, I arrived at courthouse armed with evidence that would make federal prosecutors orgasm in their Brooks Brothers suits. 6 cameras of footage, financial records showing coordinated property acquisition, testimony from multiple military families, and phone records proving conspiracy. Marcus Webb, my lawyer and fellow combat veteran, had spent the previous evening reviewing our evidence with the kind of predatory glee usually reserved for sharks smelling blood. Ezra, this isn't just harassment. This is federal housing discrimination, conspiracy, and organized real estate fraud. We're not just stopping her, we're destroying an entire criminal operation. Bethany strutted into court wearing designer confidence and clutching fabricated evidence, completely unaware that her little side business was about to become a federal case study. Time to show this mercenary bitch what happens when you wage war against American veterans for profit. The courthouse revelations were just the appetizer. The main course arrived Thursday evening when Marcus Webb called with intelligence that would obliterate everything we thought we knew about this war. Ezra, you better be sitting down. My paralegal spent 14 hours digging through public records, and what we found is absolutely thermonuclear. I was in my home office, still savoring Wednesday's restraining order hearing where Bethany's fabricated evidence had disintegrated faster than toilet paper in a hurricane. The judge hadn't just dismissed her bogus claims. He'd ordered a full criminal investigation into her harassment campaign and seemed personally offended that someone had wasted his court's time with such obvious lies. Lay it on me, Marcus. Bethany Crow was never legally elected HOA president. Her entire election 3 years ago was fraudulent. Insufficient quorum, no proper voting procedures, basically a backyard barbecue where 3 wine-drunk housewives declared her supreme leader of suburbia. My coffee mug hit the desk with a ceramic crack that echoed through the room like a gunshot. You're telling me she's been cosplaying as legitimate authority for 3 years? Every fine, every violation, every rule change, completely unenforceable legal theater. She has zero actual power beyond what intimidated homeowners gave her. The rich aroma of Carmen's pot roast drifted upstairs, mixing with the intoxicating smell of approaching justice. But Marcus wasn't finished dropping bombs. Here's the nuclear warhead, Ezra. The HOA management contract expired 18 months ago and was never renewed. The actual property management company abandoned ship because residents stopped paying dues after discovering financial irregularities. All those HOA fees people have been paying? Direct deposit into Queen Bethany's personal checking account. My brain struggled to process the criminal magnitude. How much theft are we talking about? Conservative estimate? $47,000 in stolen community funds. But your real estate conspiracy theory was pure genius. She's been working with Pinnacle Property Investments to systematically tank property values through manufactured neighborhood drama, then facilitate panic sales to her criminal partners at 30% below market rate. The scope was breathtaking. This woman hadn't just been terrorizing military families out of bigotry. She'd been orchestrating sophisticated real estate fraud disguised as civic responsibility. Please tell me it gets more beautiful. Oh, it becomes absolutely orgasmic. Pinnacle Property has acquired 6 Willowbrook homes over 2 years, all from harassed military families. Average purchase, 30% below value. Average resale 6 months later, 20% above market rate. They've been running a military family targeting gentrification scam worth over $2 million in artificial profit. But the most delicious revelation was yet to come. Bethany's personal empire is collapsing spectacularly, Marcus continued with predatory glee. Real estate business hemorrhaging money, over $60,000 in defaulted business loans, state license under ethics review for previous fraud allegations. She's been using stolen HOA funds to make her mortgage payments and prevent foreclosure on that ridiculous McMansion. The power dynamic had just inverted so completely that I felt lightheaded. For 6 months, we'd been fighting what seemed like legitimate community authority. In reality, we'd been terrorized by a desperate criminal whose entire life was built on theft, fraud, and conspiracy to commit housing discrimination. What's our nuclear option? FBI white-collar crime division, federal housing discrimination, mail fraud, wire fraud, organized real estate conspiracy across state lines. Bethany Crow isn't just losing her fake throne. She's looking at 5 to 10 years in federal prison. Carmen appeared in my doorway carrying 2 wine glasses and wearing the kind of smile that makes trauma nurses legendary. Good news, honey? Sweetheart, we just discovered our neighborhood terrorist is actually a federal criminal who's been stealing from everyone while running a $2 million real estate scam specifically targeting military families. Carmen raised her glass. So Karma's about to arrive with federal badges and handcuffs? That's exactly what I'm saying. Our suburban war was about to become a federal massacre, and Bethany had no idea her criminal empire was crumbling faster than ancient Rome. The next morning, I woke up with the kind of tactical clarity that comes from finally understanding your enemy's fatal weakness. Bethany Crow wasn't just a racist HOA psycho. She was a desperate criminal whose entire fraudulent empire was about to collapse like a house of cards in a tornado. Time to engineer the most beautiful controlled demolition in suburban history. First priority, upgrading our home security to levels that would make nuclear facilities jealous. Friday morning found me installing pressure-sensitive perimeter sensors around our property line, completely legal on private land, and invisible unless you know what to look for. These weren't your typical Best Buy security toys. They were military surplus motion detectors that could distinguish between a wandering raccoon, my dogs taking their evening patrol, and some psychotic HOA queen attempting midnight reconnaissance missions. The backup power system came next, a diesel generator hidden behind our garden shed, with enough juice to keep every camera and sensor running for 3 days during any mysterious power outages. I'd learned during overseas deployments that criminals love cutting electricity to disable security systems, not happening at my house. The smell of diesel fuel and fresh concrete filled our backyard as I reinforced the generator's foundation. Carmen emerged with iced tea and the kind of knowing smile that makes combat veterans grateful they married trauma nurses. Building a fortress to catch one suburban terrorist, she teased. Honey, when you're hunting predators, you need the right equipment. Besides, after this is over, we'll have the safest house in 3 counties. Marcus Webb arrived Saturday afternoon with a briefcase full of legal ammunition and the predatory satisfaction of a defense attorney who'd switched sides to hunt white-collar criminals. We transformed our dining room into a military command center, evidence organized with tactical precision. Federal housing discrimination cases require mathematical proof, Marcus explained, spreading documentation like battle plans. Systematic targeting plus financial conspiracy equals federal felony charges. Here's what most people don't understand about building legal cases. You need overwhelming evidence because defense lawyers will challenge everything. I'd learned during MP investigations that successful prosecutions require documenting patterns so obvious that juries reach verdicts in minutes, not hours. The beauty of our situation was Bethany's criminal stupidity. 6 military families targeted over 3 years, all forced into below-market sales, all properties flipping to the same investment group at massive profits. The pattern was so blatant that a prosecutor could win this case while blindfolded. Jennifer Santos, our neighbor and forensic accountant, joined our war council Sunday evening with spreadsheets that would make IRS auditors orgasm with pure joy. Her financial analysis revealed criminal enterprise operating with breathtaking incompetence. She's been depositing stolen HOA funds directly into personal accounts for 18 months, Jennifer explained, highlighting suspicious transactions with yellow marker. Mortgage payments, luxury shopping, even her daughter's private school tuition, all paid with community money. This woman documented her own crimes better than federal prosecutors. But my physical trap was the true masterpiece. I coordinated with Officer Martinez for strategic wellness checks designed to document Bethany's escalating erratic behavior. The plan was elegant: establish harassment patterns, demonstrate her increasing desperation, then wait for inevitable meltdown under legal pressure. I also rigged live stream capability for Tuesday evening's HOA meeting, which Bethany had scheduled to address ongoing security threats. Every threat, every violation of residents' rights, every moment of her inevitable breakdown would broadcast live to Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram simultaneously. Modern suburban warfare requires modern documentation. Carmen mobilized our neighborhood intelligence network with efficiency that would impress actual military commanders. Suburban moms, it turns out, are natural-born reconnaissance specialists when protecting their families. Within 48 hours, we had detailed surveillance reports on Bethany's daily routines, stress indicators, and increasingly desperate control attempts. She's driving past our house 8 times daily, Maya reported from her bedroom surveillance post. Always slowing down, photographing everything, like some demented real estate stalker. The technical preparation required one final component: independent professional documentation. I hired a private investigator, fellow veteran specializing in corporate fraud, to create neutral third-party evidence that defense lawyers couldn't challenge or dismiss. Tuesday morning delivered the most satisfying phone call of my entire civilian career. Mr. Thornton, Special Agent Sarah Smith, FBI Economic Crimes Unit. We've reviewed your complaint regarding systematic housing discrimination and organized real estate fraud. We're opening a federal investigation and need to schedule your interview. The taste of victory was sweeter than Carmen's morning coffee as I hung up the phone. Federal backup? Carmen asked, reading my expression. The United States government just officially declared war on Bethany Crow. She's about to learn what happens when you systematically target American military families for criminal exploitation. All pieces perfectly positioned, physical security upgraded, legal ammunition loaded, federal attention secured, community mobilized, evidence overwhelming. Tuesday evening's HOA meeting would be Bethany's final performance as neighborhood dictator. She just didn't realize she'd be starring in her own destruction, broadcast live to thousands of viewers. Time to watch a criminal empire crumble in spectacular real-time fashion. Tuesday morning arrived with crisp autumn air that made you believe in cosmic justice. Unfortunately, Bethany Crow woke up that day planning her most unhinged and desperate sabotage campaign yet, like watching a meth-fueled squirrel attempt military strategy. At 11:23 a.m., my phone exploded with a panic call from Jennifer Santos while I was fine-tuning our evening live stream equipment. Ezra, get over here now. Bethany's trying to change locks on the community center and mailbox facilities. When I asked what authority she had, she started screaming about emergency management powers and protecting community assets from criminal investigation. I arrived to find Bethany's white BMW parked in the fire lane, because apparently traffic laws don't apply to suburban dictators, while she harangued a locksmith who looked like he'd rather be defusing actual bombs than dealing with this psychotic real estate agent. "Ma'am, I cannot change community property locks without proper authorization and documentation," the locksmith explained with the supernatural patience of someone accustomed to handling mental health crises. "I am the authorization!" Bethany shrieked, frantically waving what appeared to be a homemade certificate she'd obviously created on her home computer, declaring herself Emergency Community Asset Manager. "These military terrorists are trying to steal our money, and I have legal authority to protect community property." The irony was so thick it could stop bullets. The woman who'd embezzled $47,000 was accusing residents of theft while attempting to physically lock them out of facilities they'd been illegally paying her to maintain. The smell of her desperation mixed with excessive vanilla perfume created an almost chemical warfare atmosphere as neighbors gathered to witness this spectacular meltdown in real time. But Princess Bethany's sabotage master plan was just getting warmed up. Wednesday afternoon, Marcus called with intelligence that made my day infinitely brighter. Ezra, someone attempted to bribe Carlos Mendez, your maintenance supervisor, offered him $500 cash to accidentally damage your irrigation system and create evidence that your dogs were destroying community landscaping. Let me take a wild guess. Blonde woman, white BMW, personality disorder? Carlos said she was extremely specific about wanting photographic evidence of property damage that could be blamed on your aggressive animals. When he refused, she threatened to have him fired from a job that doesn't actually report to her. The beautiful part? Carlos Mendez was a Navy veteran who'd immediately recognized Bethany's attempted recruitment as criminal conspiracy. He'd not only refused her bribery, but had contacted both Marcus and the FBI tip line within an hour. Military families protect each other, especially when some civilian criminal tries manipulating us into betraying fellow veterans. Thursday morning delivered Bethany's most spectacular psychological warfare attempt yet. Carmen called at 7:15 a.m., voice vibrating with controlled nuclear rage. That delusional psychopath is conducting a neighborhood propaganda campaign claiming you're under federal investigation for domestic terrorism. She's telling people the FBI contacted her as a concerned community leader about your suspicious military activities. The audacity was breathtaking. Bethany had convinced Mrs. Patterson, the Hendersons, and 2 other families that my security upgrades were evidence of dangerous paranoid behavior and that federal agents were monitoring our property for terrorist activities. She'd weaponized my preparation for her criminal prosecution into alleged proof of my guilt. But here's where I discovered her most beautiful mistake. While investigating her rumor campaign through neighborhood sources, I learned that Bethany had been making her own calls to the FBI, desperately trying to file counter-reports claiming I was stockpiling weapons and exhibiting threatening behavior toward legitimate community officials. Special Agent Smith called Thursday afternoon with news that made my entire week. Mr. Thornton, we've received 6 separate calls from Ms. Crow attempting to redirect our investigation toward you. She's claiming you're dangerous while simultaneously confirming that she's aware of our federal investigation into her activities. How does that impact our case? She's documenting consciousness of guilt while attempting to obstruct a federal investigation. We call that additional felony charges with enhanced sentencing guidelines. My silent preparation during this escalating chaos was surgical and devastating. Every bribery attempt, every false federal report, every moment of her psychological breakdown was being documented through multiple independent sources. Carlos had agreed to wear recording equipment during future contact. Jennifer was tracking financial irregularities in real time. Maya and Sophia were maintaining surveillance logs of her increasingly frequent drive-bys past our house. The most satisfying element? Bethany's criminal behavior was accelerating under federal pressure, generating more prosecutable evidence faster than we could organize it. Friday evening, I conducted final systems checks on our live stream equipment while Carmen prepared what we'd started calling the Bethany Destruction Celebration. The community center's Wi-Fi couldn't handle professional broadcasting, so I'd arranged portable internet with enough bandwidth to simultaneously stream high-definition coverage to Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. This seems like massive overkill for one suburban terrorist, Carmen observed, watching me adjust multiple camera angles. This isn't just about stopping Bethany anymore. We're documenting systematic harassment tactics so other military families can recognize and defeat similar criminal operations. Saturday brought the final beautiful preparation. Officer Martinez called to report that Bethany had been stopped 3 times in 1 week for erratic driving behavior near our property. Her conduct suggests someone experiencing complete psychological breakdown under extreme legal pressure, he explained professionally. Tuesday evening would be her final performance as neighborhood fake dictator. Sunday morning, I woke up to the sound of sirens and discovered that Bethany Crow had completely lost whatever remained of her sanity during the night. Officer Martinez was standing in my driveway at 6:47 a.m. with the expression that mixed professional duty with personal disgust. Behind him, Bethany sat handcuffed in the back of his patrol car, designer pajamas disheveled, mascara streaked down her face like a demented raccoon. Mr. Thornton, we arrested Ms. Crow attempting to break into your backyard shed at approximately 3:30 a.m. She claims she was conducting an emergency inspection for hidden weapons stockpiles and that she had federal authority to search your property. The irony was so perfect it felt scripted by cosmic justice. The woman who'd kicked down my door claiming fake authority had now been caught actually attempting burglary while claiming even more ridiculous fake authority. What was she looking for in my garden shed? According to her statement, she was trying to find evidence of illegal military equipment to present to federal investigators. She brought bolt cutters, a flashlight, and what appears to be a homemade search warrant printed on her personal letterhead. Carmen appeared beside me in her bathrobe, took one look at Bethany's pathetic form in the patrol car, and started laughing with the kind of dark humor that keeps trauma nurses sane. Let me guess. She tried to plant evidence and got caught? Officer Martinez nodded grimly. Actually, she was carrying a bag of items she claimed to have discovered on your property. Suspicious-looking mechanical parts, ammunition boxes, tactical equipment. Problem is, everything still had price tags from Army surplus stores, and the receipts were in her purse. Mini-twist revelation. During her arrest processing, police discovered that Bethany had been planning to file a false police report claiming to have discovered terrorist materials on our property. She'd spent over $800 purchasing military surplus items to plant as evidence, complete with a typed report describing how she'd courageously investigated suspicious activities and uncovered proof of domestic terrorism. The woman had literally tried to frame a decorated military veteran for terrorism using props from an Army surplus store. But her desperate measures escalated beyond mere evidence planting. Monday afternoon, Special Agent Smith called with news that made federal prosecutors literally applaud in their offices. Mr. Thornton, we've discovered that Ms. Crow attempted to bribe a city council member to vote against renewing your neighborhood's law enforcement patrol contract. She offered campaign contributions in exchange for reducing police presence during your Tuesday evening meeting. She tried to eliminate police protection for a community meeting? It gets better. She also contacted 3 different private security companies, trying to hire crowd control specialists for what she described as an emergency community safety intervention. When they asked for official authorization, she offered to pay cash up front for services that would, quote, neutralize dangerous residents threatening community stability. The scope of her conspiracy was expanding faster than a nuclear blast. Bethany wasn't just trying to frame us anymore. She was attempting to orchestrate some kind of private militia intervention at a neighborhood meeting. Meanwhile, my silent preparation reached levels of tactical precision that would make Special Operations Forces proud. I'd coordinated with Marcus to have 3 additional attorneys present at Tuesday's meeting as concerned residents. Jennifer had prepared financial documentation so comprehensive that accountants were calling it prosecutorial pornography. Carlos had agreed to provide testimony about bribery attempts, complete with recorded phone conversations. The live stream setup had evolved into a professional broadcasting operation. 6 cameras positioned strategically around the community center, professional lighting, multiple internet connections, and backup power systems that could maintain coverage during any mysterious technical difficulties. But the most beautiful preparation came from our expanded veteran network. Word had spread through military communities across 3 states about Bethany's systematic targeting of service families. Tuesday evening's meeting would have concerned residents, including 2 JAG lawyers, a military police investigator, and a Purple Heart recipient who specialized in veteran advocacy. Carmen spent Monday evening stress-baking enough cookies to feed a small army while monitoring social media buzz about our upcoming community meeting. Local news stations had picked up the story after FBI involvement became public knowledge. Honey, we've got Channel 7 requesting permission to broadcast live, 3 military advocacy organizations sending representatives, and someone from the State Attorney General's office attending as an observer, she announced, flour dusting her apron like war paint. Tuesday morning arrived with the kind of electric tension that precedes historical events. Bethany had been released on bail with strict conditions, no contact with residents, no approaching community property, and no leaving her house after 6 p.m. But at 11:30 a.m., neighbors started reporting that Bethany was conducting frantic phone calls from her front yard, pacing like a caged animal while gesturing wildly at anyone who'd listen. Maya came home from school with final intelligence from the teenage surveillance network. Dad, kids are saying Bethany's daughter is telling everyone her mom has a secret plan to expose the military conspiracy tonight and that everyone will finally see who the real criminals are. At 5 p.m., I received a text from Marcus that made my day absolutely perfect. FBI surveillance team in position, local news crews setting up, 43 residents confirmed attendance, federal prosecutors observing remotely. Whatever happens tonight, we've got it covered. The stage was set for the most spectacular public meltdown in suburban history. Bethany Crow had no idea that her final desperate gambit was about to become a masterclass in how criminal empires collapse under the weight of their own stupidity. Tuesday evening, 7:00 p.m. The community center buzzed with the kind of electric tension that precedes natural disasters or public executions. 47 residents packed into a space designed for 20, while news crews positioned cameras outside and FBI agents maintained discreet surveillance from unmarked vehicles. The smell of fresh coffee mixed with nervous sweat and Carmen's stress-baked cookies as neighbors who hadn't spoken in months suddenly found themselves united against a common enemy. Military families sat alongside civilian residents, all equally furious about being defrauded by their fake HOA president. I'd positioned myself strategically near the live stream controls, 6 cameras capturing every angle while thousands of viewers joined the feed from across the country. The chat was already exploding with supportive messages from veteran communities and HOA horror story survivors. At 7:15 p.m., Bethany Crow made her grand entrance. She swept through the doors like she was arriving at the Oscars, wearing a pristine business suit and carrying an oversized briefcase that probably contained more fabricated evidence. Her blonde hair was sprayed into an indestructible helmet, and her smile had the manic intensity of someone who'd completely disconnected from reality. "Good evening, neighbors," she announced with theatrical authority, completely ignoring the hostile stares and whispered conversations. "I've called this emergency meeting to address the serious criminal conspiracy that has infiltrated our peaceful community." The audacity was breathtaking. A woman facing federal charges for fraud and conspiracy was opening her own trial by accusing her victims of criminal behavior. Marcus Webb stood up from the back row, legal briefcase in hand, and predatory smile perfectly calibrated. "Ms. Crow, before you continue, I should inform everyone present that you're currently under federal investigation for housing discrimination, fraud, and conspiracy. Perhaps you'd like to reconsider making public statements without your attorney present?" Bethany's mask slipped for exactly 2 seconds, pure panic flashing across her features before the manic confidence returned. "That's exactly what I'm here to discuss. The real criminals have been manipulating federal authorities through false reports and manufactured evidence." She opened her briefcase with dramatic flair, removing stacks of obviously homemade documents and photographs that looked like they'd been edited on a potato-powered computer. "Ladies and gentlemen, I present evidence of the systematic military conspiracy to terrorize our community, defraud our HOA, and use trained attack animals to intimidate law-abiding families." The room erupted in voices, some laughing, others shouting, a few people filming with their phones as Bethany began displaying her evidence like a demented prosecutor. Photo number 1, my security cameras, which she claimed were military surveillance equipment designed to spy on neighbors. Photo number 2, Rex and Luna playing in our yard, captioned as "Attack Dogs in Training Formation." Photo number 3, my garden shed, labeled as "Suspected Weapons Storage Facility." Jennifer Santos stood up, forensic accounting credentials in hand. "Ms. Crow, would you like to explain to everyone how you've stolen $47,000 from community funds while accusing others of fraud?" "Lies!" Bethany shrieked, her composure finally cracking like cheap veneer. "These people have been planning this attack for months. They've corrupted federal agents, bribed community officials, and used their military connections to destroy an innocent woman who was only trying to protect property values." The room fell dead silent as everyone processed the spectacular delusion unfolding before their eyes. That's when Special Agent Smith made her entrance. She walked through the doors with the calm authority of someone who'd arrested actual terrorists and wasn't impressed by suburban drama. Her FBI credentials gleamed under the community center's fluorescent lights as she approached Bethany with professional precision. "Ms. Crow, I'm Special Agent Smith, Federal Bureau of Investigation. We've been monitoring this meeting as part of our ongoing investigation into your activities." Bethany's face went through a rainbow of emotions: confusion, panic, rage, and finally, complete psychological breakdown. "You're all working together," she screamed, pointing wildly around the room. The military, the FBI, the neighbors, it's all a conspiracy to destroy me because I discovered their criminal operation. Agent Smith's voice cut through the hysteria with surgical precision. Ms. Crow, you're under arrest for federal housing discrimination, mail fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit real estate fraud, and attempted obstruction of a federal investigation. As handcuffs clicked around Bethany's wrists, she delivered her final, perfect line. This is illegal. I have emergency powers. I am the HOA president. Agent Smith's response became legendary in law enforcement circles. Ma'am, you're not the HOA president. There is no legal HOA. You've been running a criminal enterprise while cosplaying as community management. The room exploded in applause as Bethany was escorted out in handcuffs, her briefcase of fabricated evidence left scattered across the floor like the debris of a destroyed empire. Our livestream had reached over 50,000 viewers, with comments pouring in from military families across the nation, celebrating the downfall of a systematic veteran targeting operation. Carmen squeezed my hand as we watched the FBI vehicle disappear into the night. So how does it feel to completely destroy a criminal conspiracy? Honestly, like justice tastes even better than your stress baking. The war was over, the good guys had won, and Bethany Crow would never terrorize another military family again. 6 months later, I'm sitting in our backyard watching Rex and Luna train their newest therapy client, a young Marine who lost his leg in Syria and found healing through working with fellow veterans, even the four-legged kind. The transformation has been extraordinary. Bethany Crow pled guilty to 14 federal charges and received 7 years in federal prison, plus restitution payments that will keep her broke for the next 2 decades. Her real estate license was permanently revoked, and the state is using her case as a training example for HOA oversight regulations. But the most satisfying justice came when her McMansion went into foreclosure and was purchased by the Willowbrook Veterans Foundation, a nonprofit we established using the recovered HOA funds plus community donations that poured in from across the country after our live stream went viral. Where Bethany's gaudy palace once stood, we built something beautiful, a community center specifically designed for military family support, complete with therapy dog training facilities, legal aid services, and trauma counseling resources. The irony is perfect. The house she used as a base for terrorizing veterans now serves as a sanctuary for healing military families. The financial recovery exceeded our wildest dreams. Federal prosecutors seized over $2 million in criminal proceeds from the real estate conspiracy, which was distributed among the military families who'd been targeted. The Martinez family returned from Texas and bought back their dream home. The Johnsons reconciled and purchased a larger house 3 streets over. Even our home's previous owners sent a thank you letter from their new state saying our victory helped them find closure. Carmen's stress baking evolved into something wonderful. She now runs cooking therapy sessions for military spouses dealing with deployment anxiety and homecoming transitions. Maya and Sophia started a youth advocacy program teaching teenagers how to recognize and report community harassment. Our daughters went from being ashamed of their military family status to becoming proud activists for veteran rights. The legal precedent we established has been referenced in over 30 federal cases involving HOA harassment and housing discrimination. Marcus Webb now specializes in military family advocacy and has a waiting list of clients who want the lawyer who destroyed the suburban dictator. But the most meaningful change happened in our neighborhood itself. Willowbrook Estates established a legitimate, democratically elected HOA with transparent financial management and anti-discrimination policies written into the bylaws. Jennifer Santos serves as treasurer, Marcus provides pro bono legal oversight, and Carlos Mendez was promoted to community operations manager with veteran preference hiring for all maintenance positions. We've created what Bethany always claimed to want: a safe, well-managed community with rising property values. The difference is, we achieved it through cooperation instead of criminal harassment. Rex and Luna have become neighborhood celebrities, providing therapy services for residents dealing with everything from PTSD to divorce recovery. Their success led to a partnership with the VA hospital where Carmen works, expanding therapy dog services to veterans across 3 counties. The community garden where Bethany's old surveillance post used to be now grows vegetables that supply our food bank program. Children who once feared walking past our house now stop by daily to help train therapy dogs and learn about responsible pet ownership. Last week, Maya came home with news that made my year. Her high school is using our story as a social studies case study about civic engagement and standing up to corruption. Students across the state are learning how proper documentation, legal knowledge, and community organization can defeat systematic harassment. The Willowbrook Veterans Scholarship Fund, funded entirely by recovered stolen money and ongoing donations, has provided college assistance to 43 military children, with applications pouring in from families who heard our story and found hope for their own futures. But perhaps the most beautiful outcome is personal healing. Carmen no longer flinches when unfamiliar cars drive slowly past our house. Maya and Sophia invite friends over without worrying about judgment. I sleep peacefully, knowing that my family is safe and that we've protected countless other military families from similar targeting. Every evening, I stand in our backyard listening to the sounds of genuine community, children playing, neighbors talking over fences, dogs barking happily in secure yards. The toxic tension that once poisoned our street has been replaced by the kind of authentic neighborly connection that builds strong communities.
Thanks for hanging out with us on HOA Stories, where the HOA Karens meet their match. If this story had you cheering or cringing, go ahead and like the video, drop a comment with your reaction, and hit subscribe so you're ready for the next wild HOA tale.